here in Saudi Arabia. 3 lights are already illuminated, 4, 5, and very quick off we go racing with Alexander Sims in BMW leading down towards turn 1 with 2 Mercedes cars crawling all over the back of him. Stoffel Vandoorne and Nick de Vries. Not a particularly good start from de Vries. Little slow through turn 2, but holds on ahead of Mortara and Bird. They're side by side. Bird's just got ahead of Mortara, but that's going to change again as they come in through turn 3. Lots of sorting out of positions, and for the first time in Formula E's history, 23 cars on the grid. Nico Müller starting from the pit lane as the 24th for Geox Dragon at the tail of the field. Lots of sorting out to be done. As per last year, qualifying groups decided by championship positions. And of course, with this being the first race this season, that was championship positions from last year. So all those big names we know, such as Jean-Eric Vergne, such as Lucas de Grassi, they had to contend with a very dusty track and therefore are at the tail of the field. De Grassi is in 18th position. De Costa for DS Techeetah this year, moving across from BMW. Loads of changes to talk about as we go through this 45-minute plus 1 lap race. De Costa down behind De Grassi in 19th spot. Vergne in 11th position, pretty good just ahead of Robin Freins with Pascal Wehrlein behind him and Massa. But at the front of the field as they start to settle down and get through this first lap, over the line for the first time then, it's Alexander Sims, Stoffel Vandoorne, Nick de Vries, Eduardo Mortara, all driving in cars that they have previously driven in. De Vries, a rookie for Mercedes. And then D'Ambrosio for Mahindra and Lotterer in 7th position for Porsche, the brand new team this year. Ollie Rowland for Nissan in 8th. Max Günther for BMW, taking the seat of Antonio Felix da Costa. And then Ollie Turvey for NIO in 10th position. A few changes further back, though, as they try and sort themselves out. And one of the main things to watch out for is the Venturi car this year with Rocket sponsorship is white and red, very similar to the Mahindra. And that is Mortara in 4th position with a queue of cars behind. He's looking very, very slow, Eduardo Mortara, with Bird, D'Ambrosio, Lotterer, Rowland, and the remaining of the field really queuing up behind him. Mortara's teammate Felipe Massa for a 2nd season. Susie Wolff, the team manager or team principal of Venturi, and her husband, Toto Wolff, here in Saudi Arabia, and obviously the head chief of Mercedes Motorsport, and therefore in charge of Vandoorne and de Vries. So let's go through some of those changes quickly as we complete lap 2. Sam Bird is on the move, trying to find a way past Eduardo Mortara. Looks to the outside line into turn 1. I'm not sure that's going to work. Doesn't quite work, and Sam gets muscled off the track and has to give up that position, so Mortara stays ahead of Bird. But really, Mortara's pace is not there. Not yet, anyway. And this is the thing, qualifying is one thing. 1 lap pace is very much different to getting these cars through the full 45 minutes plus 1 lap. A little change in the rules this year means that if we do have a safety car period, then we extend the race slightly. As looks like Buemi with a problem further back, dropping down to 23rd position, Sebastian Buemi in his Nissan. And what we should see, therefore, is energy management that was so prevalent in the season, the Generation 1 car, coming back to the fore. The car was developed so well, and the battery and inverter, that actually the Season 5 races were so frenetic, so flat out. The idea for Season 6 is to get us back to energy preservation a little bit. So Sims, Vandoorne, de Vries, new boy, GP2 champion, racing for Mercedes in 3rd position. Mortara in 4th position, still with Venturi. Bird 5th, still with Virgin, powered by Audi. D'Ambrosio with Mahindra in 6th. Lotterer, the brand new team, Porsche in 7th position. Ollie Rowland for Nissan in 8th. Max Günther for BMW in 9th. So that's a move for him. He's now with BMW, having been with Geox Dragon for a part season last year. Ollie Turvey still with NIO in 10th. Vergne for DS Techeetah in 11th position. Robin Freins for Virgin in 12th position. Pascal Wehrlein for Mahindra in 13th. Massa for Venturi in 14th. Mitch Evans for Jaguar, first the Jaguars, in 15th position. Then you have Daniel Abt for Audi, staying with Audi, 16th. His teammate De Grassi is just behind him. Da Costa moves to DS to Cheetah to partner Jean-Eric Verne, and he had a problem in qualifying, which meant that he wasn't able to do his full power lap on the second lap. Oh, we've got a car parked up at the side of the road. And that, I think, is Buemi, who's now stopped on the side of the track. Yeah, it is. So Buemi will play no further part and should soon get passed by Nico Müller, although I'm not actually sure whether Müller even started the race for Geox Dragon. I think he had a crash in practice and they were unable to get the car fixed. So attack mode last year was on the inside of the last corner, quite a difficult place to get that attack mode. This year they've moved it to the outside of turn 2, so it will be basically hanging to the inside of turn 1 and then round the outside of the wall at turn 2. And just continuing through the changes then, going down to Da Costa, who's now at DS to Cheetah, so don't look out for a BMW of Da Costa, although he's in 18th right now. Then you have Brendan Hartley, the WEC Le Mans champion, and also sometime Formula 1 driver with Toro Rosso. He's with Geox Dragon, having replaced Pachito Lopez. And he's in 19th spot. Neil Jarni for Porsche. We saw him once, so he's not a total rookie. He did this race last year for, I think that was also for Geox Dragon. And he starts in 20th position. Oh, he is in 20th position for Porsche. James Collado, Ferrari factory driver in the WEC. He's now taken the place of Alex Lynn, so Britt replaces Britt, and Collado is driving for Jaguar. And Marquin Ha then is driving for Neo, taking the place of Tom Dillman. Marquin Ha we've seen a couple of times across the Formula E seasons. Great to have a Chinese driver. He's done a little bit of touring car racing as we see a change of position there. That was Nick de Vries going down the inside of, not de Vries, Frines going down the inside of Ollie Turvey for 11th position. So Turvey's lost 2 spots in 2 laps there, behind Verne and now behind Frines. And that classic thing with Ollie Turvey, he's got good one-lap pace, but the Neo team, who've had a big shake-up, so we should see changes for Neo. But again, not quite got the race pace. Attack mode for the first time being used by James Collado down in 21st position. 2 attack modes, and they have 35 kilowatts of energy to use. So a little bit more in proportion to what they have in normal race mode. And that should mean it is more effective. And it's also more effective depending on the position of where the attack mode is. So just to run through the remaining 2 drivers, then Buemi stays with Nissan, and we've already mentioned Nico Müller, long-time Audi driver in the DTM, and he was the development driver for Audi last year in Formula E, and he is doing a full season with Geox Dragon, which, they really faded last year in terms of their performance, and I worry and wonder whether 2 amazing drivers in Hartley and Müller are going to struggle to get the best results thanks to that Geox Dragon car. And Team Penske looking after that. Jay Penske is the man in charge, son of Roger. And Roger, of course, in charge of a very successful American outfit, both in NASCAR and in IndyCar, and has recently bought the Indianapolis Motor Speedway and IndyCar, the championship. No changes at the head of the field at the moment. Everyone just kind of settling in. We've only just getting close to the 10-minute mark now. Sims still leads from Van Dorn and de Vries, and that is now a queue that has been joined by Mortara and Bird. So Mortara, in those first couple of laps, looking very slow, but has upped the pace a little bit and now got onto the tail of our leading 3. Sam Bird is still in 5th position, and a little gap then to Ambrosio, Lotterer, Roland, Günther and Verne, our point scorers. Sam with just a few concerns about the dashboard on his radio, saying that there's a few things flashing, and we've got one of our Nissans, so that's Ollie Roland, has managed to go through attack mode without losing any positions. You are really offline, and it's very, very dusty there. So he now has 4 minutes where he has 35 kilowatts more energy than the drivers around him. He's got Lotterer ahead of him and Maxi Günther behind him. Let's see what Ollie Roland can do. The Nissan is quite different to last year. They've been kind of the car and the setup of motors that they had last year as outlawed by the FIA to stop the dual motors that they had. And so Ollie Rowland in the Nissan has a very different car to contend with. And remember that dual motor giving them incredible torque out of the slow corners. And in places like Hong Kong, untouchable in qualifying. And we saw Ollie Rowland right at the head of the field in a couple of qualifying sessions. But with a different setup, what can Nissan do? Remember, they were previously an all-conquering Renault team run by Jean-Paul Drio and the DAM squad. Unfortunately, Jean-Paul losing his battle to cancer a couple of months back. And so the team now handed over to the technical chiefs that were so integral to it. And that is now not to do attack mode. Andre Lotterer taking the attack zone and losing a position to Ollie Rowland. Okay, so now Lotterer will have 4 minutes of attack mode, but he has lost track position to Ollie Rowland in doing so. And that is kind of what you don't want to do. And that will become now a ripple effect, because Ambrosio will know that he can't defend a car that's got 35 kilowatts more energy, and therefore he will want to take the attack mode, and it's going to push all of those guys ahead of them into that position unless they can get away with a big gap behind them. And Sam Bird has a pretty decent gap behind him right now. D'Ambrosio has faded off the back of that leading 5. And I reckon D'Ambrosio will be under very much pressure from Ollie Rowland, who's got half his time available left in attack mode 1. 2 attack modes. It's decided per race. Although last year we saw 2 attack modes at every single round of Formula E, bar the very final one. You may remember in New York they had 3 attack modes, which kind of confused everybody, including the commentators. Oh, and Matara's made a mistake there from 4th position. And behind him, Sam Bird couldn't take advantage of it because he was in attack zone. So Mortara doesn't lose a position, even though he goes very deep into turn 1. Sam Bird drops back and he's dropped ahead of Ollie Rowland. He's lost a position to Jerome D'Ambrosio, but D'Ambrosio is still going to do the same thing. Although Sam is right behind D'Ambrosio and therefore will be being held up just a little bit by him. Such a strategic element, this attack zone. You don't want to put yourself in a position where you're stuck behind other drivers. Sims, Van Dorn, De Vries is your top 3. Mortara, D'Ambrosio and Bird. Then Rowland, Lotterer, Gunther and Verne, your top 10. Oh, a big old slide again from Mortara. He keeps it out of the wall, but he's struggling with that Rocket Venturi by the looks of things. Sam Bird with D'Ambrosio ahead of him, and he's got attack mode, so he should easily cruise past the first. Now he looks to the second. Can he do 2 in 1? Decides against it. But Bird in 5th position now ahead of D'Ambrosio, and D'Ambrosio is going to be swallowed up by Ollie Rowland, although Rowland is about to run out of attack mode. That first registration of it, and Lotterer is right behind him, so that really hasn't worked for Ollie Rowland. He's made up one position in passing Lotterer, but I think Andre Lotterer is now going to sweep past Rowland and claim that position back. So no real advantage from attack mode from Ollie Rowland. Let's see what Sam Bird can do. He's already made it useful going past Jerome D'Ambrosio. Now he's got Eduardo Mortara, who's been stuck behind since the start of the race. Sam was fastest in qualifying in the group stages, but then when it came to the Super Pole, the top 6 getting a chance to do it again, he did unfortunately make an error, and that put him further back down the grid. Further back, Nick De Vries has got on the... Oh, that was him defending from Mortara, and there was a slight touch, so that's how Mortara ended up wide. Here comes Bird, though, down the inside of Eduardo Mortara, and that is an easy move. Lotterer has done the same thing to Ollie Rowland further back, and Van Dorn and De Vries go into attack mode themselves. Further back, so does Jerome D'Ambrosio, but significantly, Van Dorn and De Vries did that without losing any position, any track position. So Sims is now going to be really under pressure. Sims, Van Dorn, De Vries, Bird now in 4th position. Mortara, Lotterer and Rowland, 3 drivers without attack mode. Lotterer just managing to get past Roland before he ran out. D'Ambrosio dropping to 8th position behind those three. Then Frines, then Günther and Verne have got attack mode as well. So Frines potentially under pressure. No real movement from our Audis. Abt and Degrassi, 16th and 17th right now. And De Costa staying in 18th position in his DS Techeetah, the championship winning vehicle from last year. Unchanged apart from slightly developed. You get the feeling that a lot of development has been done by all of these teams and they have caught up with DS Techeetah. Certainly that's what this first race here in Saudi Arabia suggests. It's a great circuit actually. It's not really a street circuit. There are no real buildings around. Sims through the attack mode for the first time and keeps ahead of the two Mercedes. Although, to be fair, Van Dorn pretty close. Sam Bird putting De Vries under pressure, but I don't think that's going to change as D'Ambrosio goes ahead of Roland up into 7th position again. So yeah, Bird now losing his advantage and De Vries has still got 3 minutes. So I think Bird is going to stay in 4th for the moment. And those two Mercedes and BMW of Alexander Sims are going to start to pull away. Interesting to see. We've got those two German giants, BMW and Mercedes. And then Sam Bird in 4th position. And that's a customer team with Virgin. Mortara in 5th position. Venturi also... Well, that's actually a works team because they do build their own motor. They give it to JOX Dragon. And JOX Dragon are the customer team of Venturi. So effectively Venturi is a manufacturer, although a very small manufacturer in comparison to BMW, Mercedes, Porsche and Audi. They do make, they used to make electric cars. Not quite sure how many electric cars they've made of late. So, first race for Porsche. Lotterer sits in 6th. And Neil Jani, no movement down in 20th position. I think really what we're seeing here is the experienced drivers coming to the fore, with the exception of Nick De Vries, who's doing an incredible job. Those experienced drivers really helps understand how Formula E works. Sims taking the fastest lap. Still 3 minutes of attack mode to go, so he can stretch that advantage over Mercedes. And it's looking good for BMW right now. And remember, this was the same as last year. Antonio Felix da Costa was the man in charge 1 year ago in Saudi Arabia. We only had one race. And if you remember, it rained so hard that we had to kind of make free practice and qualifying one thing. So very limited running from these guys and very limited experience around this circuit. Last year was the first year. But for this race, this weekend, we have 2 races to open the season. So we have the Friday race, which is today, and then we have the Saturday race, which is the second round of the championship. I think I might have said that this was the Saturday race, so I do apologise. Just coming up to the midpoint of this race. Remember, it's 45 minutes, and once that clock goes down, then we have one more lap to the flag. Right now, though, no safety cars. The pace relatively fierce right now, with Sims pulling a 1.3 second advantage over Stoffel Van Dorn. And it's quite a flowy circuit as well. No massive stops to really regen the battery. Remember last year we were looking at consumption of about 5% of the battery per lap, but they were able to regen about 2% back. So, was it 5 kilowatts, I think, maybe 5 kilowatts, and they were able to regen 2 kilowatts. So for the moment, we aren't really too concerned about energy management with halfway still yet to be completed, but we will start getting that graphic up to see exactly how much energy everybody has. Sims' attack mode is about to run out, so that 1.3 second advantage should calm down. Pascal Wehrlein, the only other man with attack mode, and we see a change of position, and Audi making a move. That must be Daniel Abt passing Ollie Turvey. Turvey's having a horrible race. now down in 16th position. Again, that one lap pace is so good, but when it comes to the race pace, they just don't have the ability to conserve. Oh, bold move from Lucas Di Grassi, throwing it down the inside of Turvey, not to lose any positions on teammate Abt, and Da Costa will be doing the same thing. Amazing to have Mitch Evans, Daniel Abt, Lucas Di Grassi, Daniel, and then Da Costa all running outside the points. 14th down to 17th position. And even further back, the names like James Collado, Brendan Hartley, Neil Jarney, amazingly famous names in the world of motorsport, and they are, well, they're certainly not featuring on our screens, and they're hardly featuring this race at all. Neil Jarney with attack mode to try and elevate his position just a little bit. Sam Bird with the fastest lap of the race, so he's now on the push, and he's got in his sights the two Mercedes. No attack mode, this is being done purely on pace, and that Virgin is running really well. Sims did the fastest lap of the race last time through, and remember, he did that. He did the fastest lap of the race with attack mode. So Bird has gone faster without. Very impressive indeed. Fastest lap now to Pascal Wehrlein, who has attack mode. So this is starting, that first kind of 20 minutes has been kind of cruise around, and now we're starting to see pushing. Wehrlein up to 12th. Massa with attack mode is 14th. Evans losing a position to Pascal Wehrlein. And Felipe Massa going into the activation zone and getting very, very close to Daniel Abt on the exit. And does he lose the position? I don't think he does. He just defends very, very hard. Another black and red car for Venturi. So the leading quartet then. Sims, Van Dorn, De Vries and Bird have a small advantage over Mortara, holding on to 5th position. Then Lotterer, D'Ambrosio, Roland, Freins and Günther now in 10th position. Verne outside of the points once more. So there's been a few changes that we haven't seen in the middle and the low point scoring positions. Then Wehrlein 12th. Evans now into attack mode, so he's going to try and get back past Pascal Wehrlein. All for no points at the moment. Da Costa and Turvey attack mode number 1 further back. So we saw the attack mode quite early from our leading contenders, all triggered by Ollie Rowland doing it. And now we're seeing the second half of the field doing what they need to do. About halfway now into this race. Sims, Van Dorn, De Vries, Bird, Mortara, Lotterer, D'Ambrosio, Roland, Freins and Günther. And who's won the fan boost then? Van Dorn, De Vries, Da Costa, Buemi and Lotterer. Buemi's out, so we won't see that. And they get full power for 5 seconds, thanks to the votes from the fans on social media and on the TV platforms, and we will soon be trying to incorporate that as well. Bird on to the tail of Van Dorn. This quartet is squeezing up, so that Alexander Sims' pace away from attack mode is nowhere near as good as the guys behind. And the guys behind now, we're starting to see the times tumbling. We're starting to see push. And D'Ambrosio up ahead of Mortara into 6th position. Remember, Stoffel Van Dorn won the fan boost every single time last year. Actually, the Audis generally had one as well, and we haven't seen either for Di Grassi or D'Ambrosio. Lots of changes of position, by the way, in the mid-pack right now. Evans 13th, Massa 14th, Di Grassi in 15th. Da Costa's just moved up ahead of Daniel Abt, and Turvey's dropped behind Abt as well. Marquin Haar down in 22nd position has activated his first attack mode. Sims with just a bit less energy as well than the guys behind, and that will be a concern for the engineers back in the pits. Looking at those numbers, 44%, for Sims, 47% for Sam Bird. And that's coming up to close to a whole lap's difference. And that means that Sims is going to have to start to conserve. He's going to have some targets set by BMW, and he's going to have to try and to set those targets by conserving energy, by regenerating energy, by lifting and coasting, coming off the throttle midway through the straight and freewheeling effectively down into corners. And that is how you can save a little bit of energy, trying to keep minimum speed up through the corners as well. And we've got, I think that's Mortara and Frines going through attack mode. I have to say, when they do that, it gets very, very close to the guys who are following because they don't know they're pulling out. Sam Bird goes for it again, quite early on for Sam Bird. But the thing is, he's got Andrea Lotterer behind on attack mode. D'Ambrosio does the same thing, but D'Ambrosio may lose out to Ollie Rowland here. Losing a position by taking that attack mode. It really is helping. It's a great position by the FIA, this attack mode. It's not compromising them too much, but it is certainly compromising them a little bit. Apton Turvey swapping positions again, down in 17th position. A lot of attack mode already being taken. We've got 18 minutes left of the race. One of the interesting things also about attack mode is it puts more stress on the battery, overheats the battery. So you can't do it when the battery's too low in power, because then you overheat the battery and you can cause issues. It's not actually a very hot day here in Riyadh, even if you would expect it, Saudi Arabia, to be desert temperatures. It's actually quite cool. So Sims, Van Doorn, de Vries, no attack mode, but then you've got Bird and Lotterer with attack mode, Rowland without, D'Ambrosio with, Gunter without, then Mortara, Frines and Vern with, although Vern is about to lose his. He's got about 20 seconds left. Mortara ahead of Gunter. That's a change of position as Evans goes into attack mode. But our front three still have one left. Degrassi still has two left, although he just activates his first now. So we may see Degrassi move up through the field. And Jean-Luc Verne in the pits. That is disastrous. Jean-Luc Verne is going to score no points in this first race. He's pulled into pit lane in the DS to Cheetah with some kind of technical issue. And he was slightly outside the points anyway. But he was looking on course to score a couple by the end of the race. But now it's going to be a zero, a big fat zero for DS to Cheetah. And Da Costa in 14th doesn't look very healthy either to score points. Meanwhile, if you're Mercedes, you've got cars in second and third in effectively what is your debut race. Although HWA Race Lab kind of were Mercedes last year, so it's a change of name and a change of management, but not really a change of team. Bird up ahead of de Vries. He goes up into third position then. We haven't seen that. Bird now under the rear wings of Van Doorn in third position. Andrea Lotterer trying to turn the steering wheel, but it's just not turning the wheels. That's a very strange problem to have. Looks almost as though the power steering is blocked. So Sam Bird then got round the outside of Nick de Vries with his attack mode. But I wonder whether de Vries, Van Doorn and Sims can attack back once they get their attack mode underway. But the problem is Van Doorn is already under attack from Sam Bird. Here comes Sam Bird down the inside into turn one. Oh, Van Doorn is very, very late on the brakes and he goes down the inside of Sims and he's going to take net lead there. Bird goes around the outside though and squeezes Sims. Sims is down into third position then. Gets muscled out the way by Van Doorn. Van Doorn I don't think really meant to do that at all. But what it has deposed Sims, and now it means Bird and Van Dorn can run at the pace that they want to, rather than waiting for Alexander Sims to do what he needs to do. Sims now needs to get on the attack. Sims now needs to get into that attack mode and try and make sure he doesn't lose any more positions. He's got Lotterer, who's got ahead of De Vries as well. So De Vries now, the inexperience perhaps starting to show, dropping 2 positions with Ollie Rowland in 6th spot with attack mode. Surely going to find a way past De Vries. He's got 4 minutes left as well. Now Van Dorn puts the hammer down. He wants to stretch away from Sam Bird. He knows how fast Sam Bird is, but Bird has no attack mode left. Van Dorn, Sims and De Vries all still have one opportunity to get 35 extra kilowatts and attack the guys in front. They will lose time initially trying to do it, but then they gain time overall. Rowland down the inside of De Vries. So De Vries really struggling, and Rowland gets gifted another position because Sims drops, goes into attack mode and pulls out to hand Lotterer that 3rd position. Sims now to 4th spot. This really isn't working out for Sims. Rowland in 5th, Brosio in 6th, De Vries now in 7th position, Gunter, Freins and Mortara down into 10th. So it really didn't work out for Mortara. Problems for him, and he's dropping like a stone. He's got attack mode though, so hopefully he can move up a little bit. Van Dorn, Bird, Lotterer. Then Sims and Rowland with attack mode trying to make amends for the issues earlier on. De Vries also in 7th, Freins in 8th. So it's Robin Freins actually who's making really good progress. Haven't spoken too much about the teammate to Sam Bird because in the Virgins world it's very much all Sam Bird focused right now. But Robin Freins, we've seen this a couple of times, it takes a while to get himself into a star position, but he's doing it now. So they're using about 4% of energy per lap, and they're able to regen about 1.2. So this not really a track where regen is a big thing, as I said earlier. And 4% per lap. Remember that when we get closer to the end of this race. 12.5 minutes plus 1 lap remaining. Sims is now into attack mode. He's held on to 4th position. Can he get back past Andre Lotterer and back onto the podium? Problem is he's got Rowland, De Vries and Freins also with attack mode behind him. And if there is any issues with that BMW, we saw the pace wasn't quite there. He wasn't able to stretch his advantage when they were running in normal mode. He's going to get swallowed up by those guys behind. We've seen it a few times last year as well for BMW, especially in the latter half of the year. The conservation of energy just not quite as good as some of the other teams. The 1 lap pace though, definitely there. And Alexander Sims, was so glad to see him being announced a couple of months back as that driver for BMW, because really he didn't deliver what he could have potentially done last year. If you look at the championship position that he was in by the end of the year, considering he had a BMW, considering his teammate was doing such amazing things, the points didn't really show. But individually, when you look at some of the starring performances, you knew that he was fast. He just could not quite string everything together, which is so important in FIA Formula E. "11 minutes remaining. Lotterer on to the tail of Sam Bird with Van Dorn ahead. And Marquin Haar is actually the problem, because Marquin Haar in the Neo is being lapped. That's something we never see in Formula E, but thankfully the front 3 get ahead. I was a bit confused as to who that was. I was suddenly looking at these cars thinking that's not quite right, but it was Van Dorn, Bird and Lotterer coming up on Marquin Haar. Here comes Sam Bird down the inside and into the chicane. He takes the lead of the race. Van Dorn cannot even get to attack mode, being told by his engineers to abort it, but he can't even get there. Sam Bird has managed to get past and into the lead of the first race of Season 6 in Formula E. Sam Bird leads it from Stoffel Vandoorne in second and Andrea Lotterer in third position. Vandoorne does still have attack mode though. He can still fight back, but he's going to lose at least one position by pulling out of this train. Lotterer will move up into second spot. Sims is still fourth. That's all settled down now, but Sims doesn't now have the ability to use attack mode. Everybody behind has basically used it. I think most of the field has used it. Further back, we've got DaCosta in 14th with attack mode right now. Turvey, Jarni, and Marquin Ha. DaCosta ahead of Degrassi, so that's an interesting little battle that is happening further back. DaCosta, about 5 minutes ago, was behind both those Audis, and he's now got past both of them. Up into 14th position. He's got Massa ahead of him, Wehrlein, Evans, and Günther with the last of the points. Nick de Vries down to 6th position after running in the podium contending positions. Mortara was on a podium at one point. He's now 8th, but that's kind of settled down. D'Ambrosio losing a couple of spots down to 9th. Collado's moved up the order to 18th position in his Jaguar. Evans in 11th, but Jaguar on course for no points at the moment. Brendan Hartley not really making any progress either. He's in 19th position. And Nico Müller didn't make it out of the pit, so we haven't yet seen what Nico Müller can do. A big day for J-Ox Dragon. They had a lot of work to do. So, Virgin. It's been a long time that they've been in the championship. They've always had Sam Bird as their driver. Sam Bird, for the first time, has a teammate for the second season. It's always changed at Virgin. All a bit further back, we're seeing a couple of change of position, and that is Ollie Rowland muscling his way past Alexander Sims, compromising both of their speeds quite heavily. But Rowland up to 4th, Sims down to 5th position, and actually looking behind Sims, probably should stay there because de Vries is nowhere to be seen. Evans up to 10th. So that's because Maxi Günther pulled out to pick up the attack mode. Degrassi has just passed DaCosta as well for 14th. So attack modes are juggling the pack. And DaCosta drops behind both those Audis. So we're just talking about how he was looking good ahead of them. And he's now behind them. And both Audis with 3 minutes left of attack mode will pull away from Antonio Felix DaCosta. But have they got the ability to get up into the points? I am not sure. Could be a pointless run when they have a driver running in their powertrain, Sam Bird, leading this race. So the Audi powertrain can do it. The Audi team cannot right now. You've got a yellow flag out on circuit. Not entirely sure what that's for. Daniel Abt is descending down the timing screen. So where is Daniel Abt? Oh. And Vandoorne takes attack mode now when we potentially could go safety car. We are going safety car. That was a disastrous call from Mercedes. Vandoorne absolutely losing out there. He should have waited. He was one of the very few drivers to still have attack mode, and that could have played into his hands when we lose the safety car. Safety car out on track for Daniel Abt. We still don't know why. We haven't seen... There's a bit of bodywork on track, but we haven't actually seen Daniel Apt's car. But Vandoorne dropping out of second position to pick up attack mode literally seconds before the safety car is called. And so now he sits there with 4 minutes of attack mode, cruising around at 50 kilometers an hour with no ability to do anything with it, and just hoping the safety car will clear before we want the safety car needs to come in before those 4 minutes are out. Just trying to see Daniel Abt there. He's under a bridge and he's kind of in a very weird position. So not quite sure exactly what happened, but either way, Daniel Abt is out of the race. Who was he battling with? Antonio Felix da Costa, I think. Marquin Ha has a penalty for his throttle map. I think Maxi Gunter also had a penalty. Jean-Luc Verne is already out of the race, as is Bawemi. And Jean-Luc Verne with a weird problem with his steering, kind of locking up. Bawemi pulling over on track with an electrical issue. Couldn't get the car back, power cycled, and so he is out. We've got about 5 minutes remaining plus 1 lap. This is interesting because we've got our first safety car. And so we do slightly adjust the amount of time left now. This has been experimented with twice in the preseason test at Valencia. They did actually do 2 pretend races. As we have a quick look at what happened to Daniel Abt. And, oh yeah, he kind of understeered into the wall. Looked like he'd already got damage to the front end of the car, the front wing perhaps going under the front tyres, and then he just understeered into the wall. Safety car laps in Formula E are very, very slow because we don't want to use too much energy. 4 minutes left of the race, plus 1 lap. Van Dorn has got 2 minutes left, and Brendan Hartley also with a penalty for throttle map, so he'll have to take a drive through. So 1.9% of energy will be knocked off as we go under safety car, depending on how many laps under safety car we do. So it's not that the race time is adjusted; it's actually that the cars have energy taken away from them by the FIA. So just under 2% per lap, and that means that we don't have what we had last year, where as soon as you have a safety car, it nullifies energy recovery. It's so the teams that have worked harder on energy recovery over the summer period will be benefiting from this more. Last year, if you remember, as soon as we had a safety car, the race was then flat out. Any energy saving was nullified, and we saw so many races with safety cars or even red flags that it was just flat out. Just looking at the numbers, Bird has got 2% more than Sims. Other than that, everyone's on about 17%, and that energy will change once the safety car comes in. The worst off is Felipe Massa. He seems to be on 13%, and Marquin Ha is on 23%. So Marquin Ha, being lapped, hasn't used as much energy because it's not going fast. But he's down in 20th and last of our runners. And he's got a penalty. So pace car now starts to pick up the pace with 2 minutes left remaining on the clock, plus 1 lap, remember. And the safety car is coming in this lap, which allows the drivers to get a little bit more temperature into brakes and tyres before we go back to green flag racing. I don't think we've got anybody who's got the ability to dive into the attack mode. Van Dorn really wasting his attack mode, unfortunately coming in just as the safety car came in. And I'd be surprised if he hadn't seen Daniel Apt's car broadside across the track. Maybe he hadn't passed it by that point. But either way, it was a bad call from Mercedes and Stoffel Van Dorn. Green flag, and we are back underway racing. Eduardo Mortara with 11%, Felipe Massa with only 7%. So Venturi really struggling with energy conservation in this last couple of laps. All the energy has now been adjusted. So 4 kilowatt reduction in energy. Everybody's numbers are then taken away. And we've got 1 minute remaining plus 1 lap. So that's going to be 2 or 3 laps, depending on when they complete this first one. Sam Bird leads, Lotterer, Van Dorn, Roland Sims, De Vries, Freins, Mortara, D'Ambrosio and Gunter. That's the point scorers. Mitch Evans just outside the points in 11th, then Verline, Massa, De Grassi, Da Costa, Turvey, Colano, Jarni, Brendan Hartley with attack mode down in 19th position. Let's see what he can do with that. He should have a good queue of cars to overtake when he can. And then Daniel Abt out of the race, Verne out of the race, Buemi out of the race, and Muller did not start. Keep an eye on Brendan Hartley then, down in 19th. I don't think it's going to make a massive difference. Can't see him getting right up to the front of the field, but he should be able to make some passes. There's a few lockups going on at the head of the field, though. That was Ollie Rowland in 4th position, making a slight error. Lotterer with the most power. De Vries also with good power. So watch out for those drivers trying to make their way up to the field. Oh, Alexander Sims being muscled out the way by Nick De Vries, and Robin Freins makes up 2 positions thanks to that. Oh, it's disastrous for Sims. Gunter also out of the race. He's falling down the tail of the field. So there's been a problem for Maxi Gunter in the second of the BMWs. A horrible lap for BMW there. Sims dropping 3 positions. Maxi Gunter dropping way more than that. He's now out of the points and Mitch Evans is in it. Jarny up to 17th. We're now on the final lap, with Bird leading, Lotterer 2nd, Van Dorn 3rd, Rowland 4th, Freins up to 5th position. Thankfully, door opened by Nick De Vries. And then it's Mortara, Sims, D'Ambrosio and Evans now with Jaguar getting a point. Ollie Rowland looking fast under the tail of Stoffel Van Dorn. Can Rowland get Nissan onto the podium? Coming towards the last couple of corners then. And actually, Lotterer is under pressure from Van Dorn as well. Through the final corner it is. It's going to be Sam Bird that takes the victory. Lotterer in 2nd position. Any change? No, there isn't. Sam Bird wins the inaugural race of Season 6. Lotterer 2nd. Van Dorn picks up a podium in 3rd for Mercedes. Porsche with Lotterer in 2nd. Wow, that's incredible. And then it's Rowland in 4th. Freins in 5th, De Vries in 6th, Mortara 7th, Sims 8th, D'Ambrosio 9th, and Mitch Evans completes the top 10 point scorers. Wehrlein missing out, Massa missing out, no points for Audi, De Grassi 13th, Da Costa 14th, no points for DS De Cheetah either, and then Turvey, Collado, Jarny, Gunter down in 18th, having taken that drive-through penalty, and Hartley 19th, with Marquin Haar also taking drive-through penalties. Season 6, Race 1 done and dusted in Saudi Arabia. Race 2 is only one more day away. The Saturday race in round 2 coming up.